All right, here we are. Here we are with The Last of Us, episode 6, season 1. I am excited because things are starting to move along now. There is some lull moments, some boring moments, but it's not like episode 3, it's not like episode 4. So it does give us some good backstory and a tiny bit in action, a tiny bit, not too much, but it does explain a lot of things. I'm really impressed about it. So let me go over some scenes with you as far as what happened during the episode. So grab a snack, grab a drink, and let's do some couch entertainment. All right, we're doing episode 6 of The Last of Us here. I'm going to be going through most frames of giving my opinions on episode 6. So it starts off with Henry. They're having that recap of him shooting Sam, and then it shows that it fast forwards 3 months later. We have this person who's bringing rabbits to this cabin here. He puts down his weapons. They look Native American. Looks like there's a wife and a husband, and Joel is there pointing a gun at him. I mean, nothing really happens. It's just pointing the two main characters, Joel and Ellie, in a direction because he asks this lady here to point where they are on the map, and he wanted to get confirmation from the husband. They have a kind of a funny thing going on because he sees like the soup bowls that are right there. He's like, "You gave him soup," and Ellie does a little dialogue, being like, "We're not scared, you know." And she points out that Joel is scared, and that is the theme for this episode, by the way. And that's another reason why they had this scene, which I'm not busting it in any way. I thought it was a good scene. It pretty much sets up the theme. They get out of the cabin and they get direction. They tell them about on the other side of the river, there's a lot of dead bodies and infected, so be careful. Joel has his first panic attack. He has like a hard time breathing. He starts clutching on his heart. She's kind of worried and she steals a rabbit. Now, this is where it kind of gets slow, in my opinion, is because they're doing the whole travel thing. Like, I get it, you have to show some shots, but it like takes about 15 to 20 minutes until we get in the meat of the episode. So I'll go over it. There is one good scene out of this because she brings up the fact about, will this vaccine work? And she's kind of having doubts about it because you've been traveling for 3 months and it's been kind of hard with food and infected and raiders and all that stuff. So I can see doing this travel and it end up being nothing, that could suck for morale. Instead of Joel being like, "Yeah, I don't know, I guess we'll see when we get there," he gives insurance to Ellie by saying Marlene is, a trustful person, and if she believes that there's a vaccine and you have immunity, then you got to trust her. So I did like that part. But again, just them hanging around, talking about on watch. Joel falls asleep. And then he kind of gets a little annoyed, saying, "The next time, please wake me up." And then they're traveling again. We get that iconic bridge shot because they use that in marketing like a lot. I will give them the presentation as far as the shots in this episode is really, really good. So they're still traveling around here. Joel looking at the map. And then out of nowhere, I did like this part because she she like foreshadows like maybe this river is where all the death is happening. And then out of nowhere, these horses come out. I liked it because it reminds me of like Western movies and stuff. Well, all the horses surrounding someone, and that's when usually action will happen. If you remember in the first episode when the soldier was trying to test, to see who's infected, they use a dog. Joel starts to have a little panic attack because he looks at Joel and he says not not infected, and then he's having his little panic attack. And then Ellie and the dog is laughing because it didn't pick up the scent or whatever. Maybe because it's been more than 3 months, so it's not going to pick up. Or because she's immune, it's not picking up either. This lady says, they ask Joel, "What are you doing around here?" And he says, "I'm looking for my brother." And then she comes out and says, "What is your name?" And he says, "Joel." And then they have a journey to... And it's kind of cool that we're seeing this. We're seeing Jackson. in season one. In the game, you only saw the outside. You never really went inside, but you knew about Jackson. And near the end of the game, you go back to Jackson, and then we see more of it in the second game. But we're getting this in the first season, which is really cool. Joel finds his brother in Jackson, because if you played the game, you would know about Jackson. You get the iconic diner with all the lights, just like in the second game. They're all going ham on that dinner. Now, this is where I kind of got a little annoyed at Ellie, because I don't remember her being super rude. Like she was being Ellie rude in the game, but I felt like it was like way over the top in this. And it was just weird seeing Ellie and Maria just acting like nemesis, pretty much, in this episode. So I was like a little weirded out. And Joel's like, can we get some family time? Which we found out that Tommy is married to Maria to go on a walk. This is where we learned about Dam is powering the city. Somehow this is a communist town, because Maria says it is a communist town. And like this part right here, because he kind of stops Tommy and he's like, no, it's not. And Joel is kind of like pissed off that it is communist. So I don't know, maybe they hate communist countries. I mean, I do. So so they have their talk. Ellie and Maria are going to be in the stable, and Tommy and Joel go into the bar. They have a discussion. Joel lies about Tess being dead, and then they have this conversation about heading out Colorado State to pretty much get to the Fireflies, because he does do a half-truth about Ellie's the daughter of a Firefly person, which is not a daughter, but he is getting them to a Firefly compound, so he's telling half-truth there. This is where you find out that Tommy's going to have a baby and have a family, and Joel gets a little annoyed. Then Tommy goes, just because your life is all ruined doesn't mean my life needs to be ruined. And they get into a little fight. This is where we have another panic attack with Joel as he's clutching his heart, because he sees a person that looks like his daughter, which is right over here. And he kind of has a panic attack, probably because he's attaching himself to Ellie and he doesn't want to lose her. Ellie was taking a shower in this iconic scene, as you can tell with the wallpaper, which we are going to get that iconic scene in this episode. But she gets out of the shower. There's a note saying, I'm across the street. She gets across the street, meets Maria. She talks about giving a haircut. They have a little discussion. Maria says that she was a district attorney in Nebraska. She tries to like pry information from Ellie. Tommy and Joel kills people, and she's like, I already know about that. And then they have like this back and forth, and I just don't understand it. Maybe I need to play the game again, but I don't remember it being. I knew she gets kind of mad at Tommy because she doesn't trust Joel because she knows the stories. The one thing she mentions, because Ellie sees a little chalkboard of Kevin and Sarah with their date of deaths and all that stuff, and Ellie thought Kevin and Sarah were Maria and Tommy's kids. Kevin's only Tommy's kid, and Sarah obviously is Joel's kid, and so she finds out about Sarah via Maria. Maria takes Ellie to the movies because they had a little movie night. I don't know what movie they were watching. I'm pretty sure there's other people that are doing Easter eggs that will point out that for you, but it doesn't really go with the plot in any way. And it moves over to this scene where Tommy and Joel are having another chat. Tommy apologized for saying that line about your life being ruined and don't ruin mine. And this is where Joel spills everything about Ellie being immune, being scared, having these nightmares. That's probably linking to the panic attacks. And he pretty much asked Tommy to take Ellie because I think he's getting too attached, and he probably doesn't want to lose another person that he cares about, just because the last person that he cared about was Tess and she died. So he has this tearful, emotional conversation, and Tommy agrees, and they walk, and Tommy does this thing, which I don't know if she kind of knew Tommy was going to do something that Joel was going to ask him, and the thing that she's worried about of, him possibly dying or killing again, maybe doesn't want that happening. At night, Joel goes to the room, and this is where we have this iconic scene from the video game. Now, I will say in the video game, it is much better. I think Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson do an amazing job. I don't think Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal didn't do great, but it wasn't bad. It did hit that emotional thing. She admits that everyone around her died and that she cared about everybody except you, meaning that everyone's gone away that I cared about except Joel. And she brings up about Sarah, and he kind of gets defensive about it. And she talks about how she overheard Tommy and Joel talking about Joel giving Ellie to Tommy, and she's kind of showing that she wants to be with Joel and that she didn't have a choice in this matter, that he just chose for her. And they get into a little fight. He goes to bed, and I guess he's second thinking about what she said, and he starts to have these flashbacks about Sarah, about putting stuff on the tree. Tommy goes up to the room. Ellie looks pissed. Also probably sad that Joel is not there to pick her up. And Joel is there with a horse, and he said he was going to steal the horse, but Tommy says that he was going to give it to him anyway. She gives a choice to Ellie, which automatically she chose Joel, because I don't blame her. She's been on the road with him for 3 months and change, and she trusts Joel more than Tommy at the moment. But Maria did bring up a point that the people that betray you are the ones that you trust the most. And if you ever played the video game, you'll know what happens at the end that I won't spoil. So I'll just leave it vague as that. They go out to the campus, which we did get a fun scene here where, if you remember, every time she talked about learning how to hunt and shoot, Joel would say no. Now Joel is up for it because, again, he's connecting with Ellie more because he's caring about her. And they had that moment of Ellie was not hitting her target, saying that scope, but then Joel hits it, gets it right in the center. It would have been fun if he got it in the O, but he got it in the center, and asshole. It's funny. I don't know. It's funny to me. So they're doing more. They're talking about, they're having like side conversations. They're talking about like sports and stuff, about turnovers. They have this scene, if you remember in the game, where Joel and Ellie are going through the campus with the horse. So it's picking up that. Then we get the scene. He always wanted to be a singer. And they get to the campus. They see monkeys, because probably the research part of the campus. And they go in and it's empty. There's no fireflies. There's nothing. They thought they heard a noise. It ended up just being a monkey screwing around. See? Monkey. And they're looking at the map where they see Salt Lake, Utah as their movement, because they had to move. And while they were looking at, raiders were there. They tried to rush to the horse, but one of the raiders caught up and fought with Joel and stabbed Joel in the stomach. So he's injured. They get on the horse, and eventually they get to the tracks here, and Joel falls off. And I know what happens as far as what this leads to, because Ellie is going to be on her own probably. It's probably going to be an Ellie-centric episode. And if I remember that correctly, they go into a town, or she goes into a town that's very dangerous, and I won't give that spoil. That's where it ends. So let's get into the conclusion of what I think of this episode. All right, in conclusion, for episode 6, I wanted to go over three things here. Plot-wise, I thought it was good. It explained things happening in Jackson as far as what the government structure is, what resources that they have. It was good seeing the interaction between Tommy and Joel, finally getting to meet each other, learning that Tommy has a family, and then also bringing back Joel into having a purpose in life. Because if you remember, in the past couple of episodes, he's killed people. He tried to survive. He kind of lost his way. He got depressed a lot because of Sarah. And he explains that to Tommy about his panic attacks and all his nightmares about, losing Sarah, having that PTSD. We have that going on. I like the whole interaction with the Native Americans that were in that cabin. I thought it was a nice touch. of pointing them in their direction where all these dead bodies are happening. And lo and behold, all those dead bodies led to Tommy, because that's when all the cowboys came. The only thing as far as plot wise, they're starting to get back to having these boring moments. And when I say boring, it's just not my cup of tea. If you like what they're doing as far as all the camping and stuff, and there's some like good things that happen, because he gave insurance to Ellie about Marlene, saying there you have the immunity and you could save the world. So he's giving, Ellie a purpose. There is times where they drag so much because they want to show off those nice presentation, which we will get into the presentation, but they like to do it so much where it's leading them of just them walking around and then sleeping and stuff. And I don't know. I think you can cut some of that and put some more backstory, meaning we know they go to sleep and then we just move on to the next scene in some way. But I get it. Some people like that. They love to have the interaction of just nonsense NPC talk. And when I say NPC, it's like talking about sports, talking about mascots, and talking about sheeps and all that stuff during dreams. I could do without that. And plot wise, I thought Ellie and Maria having like that hardcore nemesis disagreement, I thought it was like way over the top. But presentation, amazing. All the camera shots, even though I did downplay it as far as like ruining some of the plot scenes, I did appreciate some of the shots that were happening, especially when they were on horses, and especially when they were walking through, I don't know if that was Yellowstone or whatever, but just mountains and snow. It looked beautiful. And especially that bridge that we've been seeing in all the marketing, that was a cool shot too. So I don't have a lot of things to say for presentation. It just looked really cool. I liked how Jackson looked. I liked that we got to see the set. It looks just like the video game, so I don't have anything bad to say about that. It shows how they get electricity, the dam, which we got a pun from Ellie about dam. Writing wise, Ellie keeps on like getting on my good side, and then I go, that's too cringe, especially with the whole cussing too much and her like saying, who's that, where's my weapons and all that stuff. I just like, come on, man. You should be trusting Joel. He's not worried about his guns. He's looking at his brother. It's not like they're in a prison or in any sense. Maybe she thinks she's in a prison, or she's just not comfortable being in a place that there is a society. So that could be a thing that's going on. But other than that, like writing wise, like I said, I have a lot of good things, especially when they get inside to Jackson with Joel. The only downside was Ellie and Maria for me. I thought the interaction with the Native Americans was cool. And then the whole interaction when Joel and Ellie are starting to become like daughter and father. And they have the iconic scene. She finds out that she's going with Tommy, and they have that like yelling match, and how Joel's like, you're not my daughter and I ain't your dad kind of thing. So, that was cool to see. So writing, not really bad at all. So like the only downside I have is just the choice of Ellie and Maria. I was really impressed with this episode. I will give it a Cloud 9 rating, but it's not a perfect score. I will be giving this a 4 out of 5 because I thought this was a good episode. I was intrigued after we got past the 20-minute mark when they pretty much got to Jackson, and it never stopped. I think next episode we're going to see a good episode again. So they are hitting those strides really well. I think we will end it here. Follow all our socials and our website, which is bigtroublearchive.com. Twitter is BTA Content, and Facebook is Big Trouble Archives. Make sure you like this video, and if you're new, hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell to know when we put videos live. But until next video, I will see you on the couch. Bye, guys.